Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, the most significant week ever in the study of UFOs, as well as the effort to finally reach a point of UFO disclosure, is coming to an end. But there are still some things to talk about. Of course, as we all know and recognize, that the week started off with that big giant article in the Debrief about former intelligence officer David Grush and his assertions that there is a reverse engineering program going on behind the scenes of craft that are non-human in origin. And then we also had another report from Michael Schellenberger on public.com, Substack, and he was talking to some of the people that Grush was talking to. And now some of these names are anonymous right now. These names are anonymous right now, but he's being told that the United States has 12 extraterrestrial craft at least in the inventory. So we have that. But of course, the other big story to break this week, nationwide, internationally, actually, is the story that's from Las Vegas, Nevada, where a family had seen something landed in their backyard, and they saw two 8 to 10 foot tall creatures in their yard that were decidedly not human. And there is some evidence to go along with all of these things with this event. And I want to talk about that. There's a lot of information that's starting to come out on this whole issue, and there's more information that I put some notes together, actually. Now, apparently, we learned just a couple days ago from KLAS Channel 8, a CBS affiliate from Las Vegas, did a report on this, an outstanding report, I thought, about this whole incident. And then again, there was another report yesterday from George Knapp, who works at KLAS, about this incident. And there are still some questions with regard to this whole thing. And but some of those questions have been answered. And actually, there was somebody else who has been on this case before, actually, KLAS, but we didn't know about it. There's a investigative journalist named Doug Papa, who has his own podcast, and he actually had Angel, who's one of the witnesses to these creatures, on his podcast, and that was right now, that was 10 days ago. So he was on this before anybody else, apparently, and he had an interview with Angel. Now, the family's not releasing the location of where they are or their full names. The only person that I see so far going public is Angel. We don't know what his last name is, and I guess they want to keep it secret. They don't want people to know where they live, because then you're going to have media from all over the world probably descending like locusts, or maybe even quicker than those beings descended in their backyard on their property, asking them all kinds of questions and pointing cameras in their faces and things like that. They don't want to, and among other people, not just media, there'll be probably people interested in this subject traveling there to ask questions, and I guess they just don't want that kind of publicity. But I listened to a podcast from the Doug Papa podcast today, and there was a lot of information there that I culled, and he had a great interview, I thought, with Angel. Very interesting stuff. And now Angel himself has created his own YouTube channel, and he already has as of this recording, he already has over 200,000 views of his. He provides some details on the incident, and he also indicated that he plans on uploading more videos about this too. He said he's not looking for fame or fortune. He just wants people to know what happened. And I believe this person. There's a lot of people online right now that are running around saying that, this guy's a liar. Even on the podcast that I did on YouTube, for instance, in the comments, somebody in all caps, "This guy's a liar." Like, how do you know? You don't know that. Who are these people? Either these are the people that don't believe in this, that are just refuse to even consider the evidence out of hand, right? Those people, either they're complete absolute dum-dums, or they're plants from the government, because obviously the government is involved in this, and they have been interested in this for some reason. And we're going to get into all of that, because I took some notes on what we have learned so far. And for all I know, there might be some more information coming out right now as I record this. But, I'll continue to update everyone on what's going on here. Well, these are some of the notes that I took today on this. After listening to the podcast on the Doug Papa show, and also listening to the new YouTube channel video from Angel, one of the witnesses. And some of the things I culled from all of that. I took some notes on this. Now, for one thing, they were working on a car. Angel, his brother, and his father were all working on a vehicle at the time when this thing came down. Now, of course, I actually believe now, after looking at the video of the police body cam footage that was actually being recorded at the time when this object came down, I think that is the object. I think that the body cam footage actually captured that object. I do not believe that thing was a meteor on that. It looked like it was moving. It looked like it was. Meteors don't move. Meteors can't make turns, right? That thing looked like it was making some turns. So when you look at that video close up, it looks to me like that thing was, angling to land somewhere. Now, some people were saying it crashed, but I don't know about that. I don't think it did crash. I think it landed, in their backyard. And so that footage from the vest of the police officer, I think that actually captured the craft, right? One of the comments that of course, as Angel has been making, Angel, of course, is the same person that called in 911 that night, and made that incredible statement to the 911 dispatcher that there's aliens here. These are not human beings, basically. And he was telling Doug Papa in his recent interview that it looked like an alien. That's what it was. Basically, he said it was these. There was two of them that he saw. They were 8 to 10 feet tall. That's how tall they were, and they're definitely not human. And we're going to get into all this stuff here as I go through some of these notes. And he said when the craft was coming down, he saw the craft. It was a round craft. It looked like a shield, and it was flashing all these different colors, blue, green, right? And then there were sparks when it hit the ground. So there were sparks when it hit the ground. Some video surveillance footage, by the way, from a local resident captured the sound of the object hitting. That's what it sounded like right there. So there was some surveillance footage that was working at that moment that you could hear that sound. That sound doesn't sound normal to me, does it? It sounds like something weird was going on there. And then when Angel and the others investigated, they couldn't see the object, he said. Angel said it was blurry. It looked blurry when he was looking at it. It took a few moments until he was able to see. And then when the blurriness dissipated, it wasn't his eyes that were blurry. It was the object. The object was apparently had some sort of invisibility capabilities because he wasn't able to see it clearly. The thing that he saw, the round object that looked like a shield that had flashing all these different colors, when it hit in the backyard, all of a sudden, that when he looked at it, him and his family, his brother and his father, looking at this thing, it was blurry looking. And then when the blurriness dissipated, according to my notes here, Angel said he saw 2 silvery beings in the backyard. And his impression was that their legs were broken because of the way the knees were bent. The beings were not wearing any clothing either. He said. There was a circle impression, by the way, then we'll get into this, left in the backyard, as if something very heavy had been there. There were no burn marks because it was only soil, apparently. There was no grass there, but there were no burn marks. But whatever this thing was, when you look at this picture that Angel had provided, and again, I urge everyone, when you get a chance, to check out the video that Angel had uploaded to YouTube himself, to check this out. It's I don't want to use all this stuff. I don't want to infringe on anyone's copyright. But it looks like whatever this thing was that landed, right? Whatever this left that impression in the ground, that circular impression, it looked like it had to be pretty heavy, right? Whatever was sitting there. Well, what's interesting about this, there were no burn marks, but the surveillance camera owned by the family, for when this events happened, right, it cut out during the event. But police later pointed out to the family that before the craft had landed, the footage showed that there was no circle there. But then later on, when the footage was working, when the camera was working again, you could now see the depression in the ground that this object had left. Now, so when they went back there and he saw the blurriness and everything like that, then it dissipated. Then he saw, that's when he saw the 2 figures. He saw one of them apparently running from the left to the right, a tall figure. One of the beings went behind a front loader or a forklift. I'm not sure, for pictures of I heard it's a forklift and somebody else says it's a front loader. I'm not sure about that. Again, all these details will be hashed out as this thing goes on. And he also heard something that he described as voices. He heard voices, and then he heard footsteps and heavy breathing. Like he actually saw the creatures breathing. You could see that the chest was going up and down and he heard the breathing. He had goosebumps on. He felt goosebumps all over his body. And him and his father went in the yard and they saw one of the beings in the forklift. And he saw big blinking eyes, and for one of the creatures that he was looking at had big blinking eyes that had eyelashes, right? And then they couldn't run. He felt paralyzed. He was there for momentarily while this thing was staring at them, right? They were paralyzed in place, like he described it as sleep paralysis. The paralysis ended apparently when the creature discontinued eye contact. And here was a direct quote from Angel when he was talking to Doug Papa. He says, "You just look in the eyes and you get stuck in it." He said after the police came and after this event was over and investigated this whole thing, after the police came and left, because the police didn't stay there long. There were two officers that showed up about a half hour after he reported this, 25 minutes, 30 minutes after they made that 911 call. And after they showed up, they heard after the police left, they heard apparently these beings might not even have left yet, because according to Angel, they heard footsteps on the roof, even though the craft that left that impression was no longer there. Then after the police left, they heard some footsteps, like something was running around on the top of their house. And then another thing that he found because now, of course, this happened around midnight, April 30th, like just before midnight on April 30th in the early morning hours, just after around midnight, May 1st. And then later on in that morning when it got bright out and he went outside to look around, he also found footprints of what these beings left. And they were large footprints, like 15-inch. He said the footprints were not human. But unfortunately, he didn't take any pictures of the footprints. Apparently, he does have some more video to share. Now, there was a video floating around on Twitter. Now, I don't know that purportedly shows an alien being. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if that's from Angel. I don't know. It wasn't on the video that he put on YouTube, so I'm not going to use that. I don't know if that was somebody that faked it. It looked very blurry, but it did look like there was some sort of a being, a head of a being with two big black eyes in it. I'm not sure if that's from this incident or not, but it is floating around Twitter. And then the police, he said the police didn't stay that long because he said they were very scared. The two police officers that showed up were very scared. And then, of course, the next morning, they also found the footprints in the yard. And this was another very interesting aspect to this whole incident was, several days later, May 6th, there were two other police officers showed up to do some more investigation, to do some follow-up investigation. And according to Angel, I guess the department felt that the original officers didn't do a thorough enough job, so that's why they sent two more officers. But I guess during that same day, I don't know, apparently at the same time when those cops were there, Angel noticed that there was a black Suburban that was driving in front of their house that had a white United States government plate on the back of it, and inside were three guys wearing sunglasses and black and suits that were driving and looking over at the house, right? And he said that the plates were definitely United States government plates, and these guys were wearing suits and sunglasses. Angel tried to catch up with these people in the car in his vehicle, but apparently he lost them. Apparently, so the government apparently showed up and are apparently interested in this whole incident, which makes it even more interesting now, doesn't it? Now, especially when you consider what's all been going down lately with the effort to finally get to disclosure, where our government keeps telling us that there's nothing to this, but yet they're showing up secretly, obviously, when things like this happen, they're interested in it. Now, who are these people driving around in the Suburban? Are they men in black? Are they perhaps, maybe they're not government officials. Some people think that some of these people could actually be aliens themselves, hybrids, the ones that are living among us, right? That's always a possibility. But I think the bottom line is we've reached critical mass on this whole thing here. This thing is starting to split open, right? It is. It's coming to an end, I believe. I believe we are seeing the beginning of the end. This week has been very significant with the release of this story. And when you think about the incredible David Grush story that was in the debrief on Monday, and then the other follow-up story from Michael Schellenberger about the 12 craft that they have insiders telling him anonymously, but there are at least 12 craft that the United States has recovered that are extraterrestrial. And then you hear a story like this, and you have evidence. There is evidence. There's a picture of the depression in the ground where this thing landed, right? There's a circular depression in the ground that wasn't there on the video surveillance before the event happened. You have the witness testimony. This guy's telling you the truth. I mean, these things happen, right? This is very similar to other incidents I've heard of before, right? You have that. You have the surveillance footage where you could hear the thing landing, and then even more importantly, you have the police body cam footage that was taken around the time when this thing allegedly came down that shows the craft, that you could see something falling from the sky. This is it. This is as close as you could possibly get. I mean, if you can't see it at this point, if you're somebody who's been on the fence, it's time to get off that fence. It's time to, okay, what's going on here? It's time to have the government tell us what's going on here. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what does this all mean? Okay, we are back. What was going on the night of April 30th? And the early morning hours of May 1st in Las Vegas? What actually happened here? What was it? I mean, I guess that's something we need to think about. Are the extraterrestrials themselves giving us a demonstration? I mean, they're going into a Las Vegas. I mean, apparently a suburban area of Las Vegas, and this is what's happening. I mean, you see, they're actually were captured on a body camera from a police officer falling down, apparently, and then you have the witnesses, the three people that saw this. You have the 911 call. You have all these things. It's almost as though the extraterrestrials are almost letting us know if that's what it is. If this was some sort of a demonstration, the extraterrestrials themselves might be trying to prod us into the acknowledging that the existence of them being here. That's what this might be. I don't know. I guess all we could do here is speculate on what's happening here. I mean, you think about the significant things that have been going on in with the article in the debrief with David Grush, and we know a lot of us out there already know that the government has been covering this up and lying about it for all these years. And we just want to have the acknowledgement made. So the scientific community needs to be aware of this instead of playing these tiddlywinks games like we don't know yet and all that kind of stuff. No, we do know. I mean, we do know. People ask about for evidence, right? This constitutes evidence. Right, the surveillance footage of the sound that constitutes evidence. There's something here. They're up to something. What are they doing? Why did this happen? I guess again, is it a demonstration? Did they actually have technical difficulties with their craft and they had to land momentarily to do something and then before they could take back off again? That could be it. We just don't know. I've talked to about this anonymous source who I talked to before. I've talked about this person numerous times. This person was who had spent 36 years as an electronic engineer, performing research and development for NASA on the space shuttle, the NRO, and the CIA. Also worked for different. It all ended up working with DARPA on robotics. This person is an anonymous source for me. Also did some work for some private contractors for the government, this electronic engineer. And this person has sometimes contacts me and gives me opinions on what he believes. And well, in the original time, the first time this person contacted me, he told me about his own experience, which in a way is similar to the incident we're hearing coming out of Las Vegas right now. And this is what he said. He says, I mentioned that I saw something in 1997. I was living in a rural area in the hills southwest of Tucson. I was awakened one night, he was in Arizona at the time. I was awakened one night by the sound of something scraping on my bedroom window like fingernails on a blackboard. I had a dreadful feeling that something very dangerous was trying to get in. But worse than that, I had this bizarre feeling that it was intensely hungry and needed to feed on me. So he had this feeling that something wanted to eat him. I dismissed these feelings in the heat of the moment because there was no actual evidence yet and grabbed a pump shotgun and ran to the window and flipped on the floodlights. I then saw something that I'll never be able to forget. It apparently was a tall gray. It stood about 7 feet in height with a relatively short and thin torso, a very large head, and very long legs and arms with 3 fingers on each hand. It was moving away from the house, so I only saw it from the back. But the way it moved was incredible. The legs took long strides while the body and head remained perfectly upright and just glided smoothly along. When it reached the fence, which was about 4 feet high, it simply went right over it without breaking stride, like a hurdle jumper in the Olympics. It ran into a clearing about 200 yards away, at which point a craft of some sort rose silently up and drifted away to the south. Seen edge on, I couldn't tell if it was circular or triangular, but the bottom was radiating a yellow-orange light. Just a few seconds after it flew away, 2 Air Force A-10s came in from the west, very low, and vectored north directly over my house. I've never seen A-10s fly that low, especially after dark. I thought perhaps it knew I had a shotgun and was scared off, but in retrospect, I doubt that was the reason. I suspect it had some way of knowing the A-10s were approaching, so it decided to leave the area before they arrived. I think if it wasn't for those A-10s, I might not be here today. Because of my need for employment and obtaining clearances, I didn't report this event to anyone. There was, however, another witness to the UAP. A young man who I had met a few times was vacationing in a small trailer just to the south of my house. I met him the next day and he reported the UAP to me without any prompting. He gave exactly the correct time and said he saw it at a very low altitude. It was an unambiguous and very disturbing confirmation of the event. A few days later, I stopped at a small cafe down the road and inquired about the young man. I was told he had stopped for coffee with his trailer hitched up and seemed very agitated. He said he was getting out of here as fast as he could, and I certainly don't blame him. In addition to that, I also found scratches in the glass of my bedroom window and some large footprints which appeared to have 3 toes. This had a profound effect on me, including repeated nightmares, boarding up my windows, and eventually abandoning the house entirely. Some people might think this experience colored my judgment, but I'm afraid that's not the case. After more than 20 years of examining everything I could find on the subject, it all seems to point in the same direction. And rather than being a mere anomaly, my own experience only serves to support the conclusion that our planet is being colonized by a species of alien parasites that feed on human and animal blood. So that's his opinion, that these are parasites that feed on human and animal blood. Well, I guess that remains to be seen now, doesn't it? If we're talking about cattle mutilations, maybe. I don't know. Could be that that's the reasoning behind this. But I mean, if you look at this recent incident, unfortunately, I wish Angel would have gotten some pictures of the prints that were left in the ground. I'd like to know more information about this. In fact, I have made an attempt to contact Angel. I would love to have him on my podcast. I'd love to talk to him about this. There's a lot of questions I have. I'm interested to see if he could provide a drawing for this. He might. Apparently, he's going to provide some more information. Hopefully, we're going to see some drawings of this thing pretty soon. I'd like to see that. What did it look like exactly? Maybe he could get some one of those sketch artists that go to courtrooms and things like that. A professional sketch artist to put his vision, what he saw on paper. That would be great if he could do something like that. But I'd love to have him on the show here, and I have made an attempt to make that happen. Well, we'll see if it happens or not. I'm sure he's getting bombarded right now by phone calls and emails from a lot of different people, and I'm just one of those people out there in the universe trying to do that. But anyway, I think this is a significant event, and I don't know who these people are. I'm very interested to know about the government is actually obviously interested. Angel's talking about Suburban with guys, men in black in there, dark sunglasses and suits with the United States government plate driving around his house, and then they took off. I guess he wanted to talk to them, and they took off. But to me, right, we've heard stories like this before. What does it mean? I don't know. They're here. That's what it means. I mean, it's time for everyone to wake up. It's time for the government to start talking. It's time to start hearing the truth from our people in the government that we put in the positions to protect us. It's time to know the truth. It's time to stop being stupid about this. It's time to send these debunkers home like the babies that they are. It's time to end all of this stupid charade. That's what this all means. That's what this means. This week proves proves it. This is the biggest week in UFOs that I've ever seen. I've never seen a bigger week than this week in my lifetime. I mean, there's just so much stuff here to unpack. This story here is incredible. It's as far as I'm concerned, these people are telling the truth. They have the evidence to back up everything. You have this you have the footage of that captured the sound. You have that. You have the footage on the police vest. Captured the object coming down. You have the testimony from the people. You have the circle, the depression that was left in the yard. These people are telling you the truth. This is what they saw, and it does. What else does it tell you? These things are flying around here. They obviously have the ability to make themselves invisible. They could be flying right outside your window right now, and you're not going to see it because they could make themselves invisible. These things have powers beyond our imagination. They could look in your eyes and make you freeze in place. They could paralyze you. You can't move. These people were unable to move. He said it was like sleep paralysis. So there are beings here that have abilities that exceed anything that we could ever dream of at this point in time. I mean, could you imagine being able to look at somebody and make them freeze in place and they can't move? How is that possible? Obviously, it is possible because it just happened. Again, this is a story. We've heard this from many, many other witnesses. And here, there's a lot of evidence to go along with this. So if you're going to keep on denying this, well, too bad for you. Too bad. It's time to wake up and smell reality, folks. And it's time for the government to start giving us a little bit more information about what they know. What the hell is going on? Well, anyway, thank you for joining me. Until next time.